description, the two posts, just there on the first page. Mr. Knight, you can blow those up. All right, thank you. And so again, Mr. Young, what we're looking at is Andy W., who don't know, is posting about evacuation flights. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you respond, I have access to evac aircraft in Afghanistan. Let me know how I can help, correct?
Correct.
And again, you never evacuated anyone from Afghanistan by aircraft, did you?
That's correct, and that's not what it says.
You said I have access to evac aircraft in Afghanistan, correct?
Exactly, and that's correct.
And you never evacuated anyone by aircraft, did you?
The requirement never came up that
Sir, please, my question is simply, you never evacuated anyone by aircraft? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, with this one, no mention of sponsors, correct?
Correct, and it's in response to a corporate.
Sir, again, my question is, there's no mention of sponsors, yes or no?
That's correct.
There's no mention of corporations, yes or no?
Wasn't required. Yes.
There's no mention of just only if you're an NGO, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Mezza, if you can take that one down and put up Defense Exhibit 89. Just for the witness, yes, thank you. And Mr. Young, the post actually goes from the first to the second page. So Mr. Mezza, why don't you show it in bold? And if it helps, Mr. Young, I have these in paper form, if that would help. Just let me know. Okay. And do you recognize this as a post by you?
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, I move for admission of Defense Exhibit 89.
Your Honor, I'm just reviewing. Oh, can you go back to page 1, please? Oh, what page were we on before? Because I was reading that one, and then we switched from it. Oh, can we go back to 2 then, and then I'll read 1? And page 1, please. No objection, Your Honor.
Defense 89 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Thank you. So again, this guy, Andy W., who you don't know, correct?
Correct.
He posts about evacuations, right? We see that?
Yep.
And we don't really need to focus on that, but let's go to the second page. And you respond to his post, correct?
I did.
If you could blow that up, Mr. DeVazza. And you write, seems too much false hope peddling in these channels.
Yeah, there's a typo. Misspelled too.
Even if those wishing to leave have passport and visa, in most cases they will face serious problems from Taliban, which control the outer perimeter of the airport.
That's right.
Even if they somehow manage to pass with a $10,000 bribe, which is standard, most will be turned back because they lack the required docs to go anywhere onward. Do you see that?
I do.
Then you write, unfortunately, we have many quote-unquote quiet professionals wishing to turn a quick profit from this unfortunate situation, marketing and imaginary charters leading nowhere. Do you see that?
I do, and more typos.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
And what you're saying right there is, unfortunately, we have many quiet professionals wishing to turn a quick profit from this unfortunate situation. You're actually suggesting that this person and other people posting about charters to leave Afghanistan are marketing imaginary charters. That's what you're saying, right?
No, that's not what I said.
I'm looking at your language. You wrote that these many quiet professionals are wishing to turn a quick profit from this unfortunate situation, marketing imaginary charters leading nowhere. And by using the term imaginary charters, you are suggesting on LinkedIn that those people are, I guess, committing fraud or getting people to pay for things that are imaginary, right?
No, that's not what
You're not? What are you saying there?
I think I described it yesterday how
I'm just asking you what you're saying there.
I can read it if you want me to.
I'm asking the simple question.
Your Honor.
What are you saying when you say marketing imaginary charters?
I'm confused. If you want me to read it, I'll read it. If you want me to explain it, I can explain it. But I can't understand what you're asking me to do.
Sure. You can explain what you're writing right there. But this isn't a document that you saw yesterday. So your testimony yesterday, whatever it was, is not relevant to my question about what you're meaning when you write imaginary charters here.
What I mean by imaginary charters are the fact that even though these people had good intentions, it was very difficult to charter an aircraft that would be willing to go to Afghanistan, and even harder to get the clearance to land. So they spent a lot of money doing something that, I use the term imaginary charters, I meant they're real airplanes, but the likelihood of actually landing in Kabul, especially when the Taliban took over the airport, pretty unlikely. So I said imaginary.
And you're saying, unfortunately, we have many quote-unquote flight professionals wishing to turn a quick profit from this unfortunate situation. And the unfortunate situation is the situation in Afghanistan, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you're saying that these quote-unquote flight professionals are looking to turn a quick profit from the situation in Afghanistan?
I am, but it's more complicated than as you described.
Okay. You go on to say, if you know of anyone truly in harm's way who needs to be outside Afghanistan tomorrow, contact me. This post doesn't mention sponsors, does it?
No, wasn't necessary.
Okay. It doesn't mention corporate clients, does it?
Wasn't necessary.
You wrote, whoever needs to be outside Afghanistan tomorrow. You didn't have the capability to get someone outside of Afghanistan tomorrow, did you?
It always depended on the situation. There was no timeline. It was as the operational environment permits.
Were you able to perform next day evacuations from Afghanistan?
It would depend on the requirement. I believe that one of them, I don't remember perfectly, but there was one for Hero that was pretty quick compared to the other ones, which took like a week, sometimes two.
Yeah, so my question really is were you able to provide next day evacuations from Afghanistan?
That was probably an exaggeration, but the time it varied depending on the details.
So the answer is no, you weren't able to provide next day evacuations from Afghanistan?
It's not a yes or no answer. It's a longer answer.
May I approach your Honor? So if you'd open up to page 781, line 9 through 14. Let me know when you're there.
Which page?
781?
781? And the lines?
Sorry, one second. Sorry, 791. I think I said 781.
Okay, 791 in the lines.
Oh, hold on, I'm on the wrong page now. It is 789, 1 through 6. I apologize. 789, 1 through 6.
789-1 is the end of an answer, Mr. Axelrod.
Hold on one second. I got it here somewhere.
Line 9.
What's that?
I think line 9.
Line 9.
On 789.
Yeah, you're right, Your Honor. There you go. Yes, it's 789, 7 through 12. I see it. All right.
Your Honor, we'd object as improper impeachment. Consistent with what he just testified to.
Overrule the objection. Go ahead.
All right, so Mr. Young, you remember sitting for a deposition?
Yes.
You swore to tell the truth?
Yes.
You take that seriously?
Very.
You were asked that question. You were asked in that deposition, were you able to perform next day evacuations from Afghanistan? Did you see that?
Yes.
And what was the answer you gave in your deposition?
I said, no, unfortunately, that was probably way too ambitious.
Thank you. You can put that to the side. Mr. Mezza, we can take that down and put up Plaintiff's Exhibit 94, which is in evidence. And so I think, Mr. Young, this is a document you looked at yesterday. So if you go to the next page of this document, And I think Mr. Friedman asked you about this, and you recalled that this was a message between you and someone on LinkedIn, correct?
Yes.
And these are messages between you and a potential evacuee, correct?
No, not correct.
No?
No.
So this person writes a long email to you, or a long message to you, correct? Talking about needing to get out of Afghanistan.
That's right.
If you go to the next page, Mr. Demesic. And you write, do you have a sponsor able to pay evacuation costs, correct?
Yep, correct.
And he responds, not really, but can't I pay them myself?
That's right.
And you respond 14,000.5 per person, right?
I did, and then I blocked him.
And you provided that price to this person, even though the person explicitly told you that they did not have a sponsor, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't produce this in discovery, correct?
I don't think so, no.
Because you had deleted it, correct?
Correct.
At about the same time you were talking to lawyers about filing this lawsuit, correct?
Yes, I was talking to lawyers.
Now, isn't it true, something we touched on yesterday, that you had no contacts on the ground in Afghanistan?
No direct contacts. I used a network.
Okay. My question is, did you have any contacts on the ground in Afghanistan?
Not directly.
So that would be a no?
It's a not directly.
If you could turn to page 627 of your deposition. And look at pages 19 through 21.
I see that.
And, Your Honor, may I proceed?
May I just,
Hang on a second.
Sure.
what was the page in line?
It was 627, 19 through 21.
I think it should be 225, though, because I clarified my answer.
Your Honor, I agree with Mr. Young for completeness purposes. I have no problem with him reading it, but he should read until line 25.
I think the portion I selected is dead on. It's the exact same question and the exact same phraseology.
It's just out of context.
Mr. Young, there is no question posed
Mr.
here.
Young, yeah. And talk to me, don't. For purposes of cross, just read 19 through 21. If you want to address the rest, you can.
Thank you. And so, Mr. Young, you were under oath when you were deposed, correct?
Yes.
And you were asked, do you have any contacts on the ground in Afghanistan, correct?
Correct.
What was your answer?
No.
Thank you. You can close that. So, when you start advertising on LinkedIn your evacuations, you contact a guy named Ayuri. I'll just call him Ayuri. You know who I'm talking about, correct?
Yes.
Because you think that Ayuri had contacts in Afghanistan that could help. Is that right?
I knew he did. Yep.
Okay. Now, you had no idea where Ayuri was in the world in 2021, correct?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Okay. Do you know where he was in the summer of 2021, in earlier fall?
No.
So to do these evacuations, you needed this guy Ayuri and his contacts, correct?
That's correct.
And isn't it true that you didn't even know who Ayuri's contacts in Afghanistan were?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Did you know who those connections that Ayuri had were?
I didn't know their names.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that you didn't develop the plan for the evacuations?
I wouldn't put it that way.
Isn't it true that the operators on the ground developed the plans for each of the evacuations?
They did with my oversight.
Because trying to put together an operational plan for some place you're not physically located is a recipe for disaster, correct?
Indeed, very correct.
So you were coordinating the activities from your house in Austria, is that fair?
That's right.
And you were doing this primarily through IURI, correct?
That's right, correct.
You were calling IURI, and IURI was relaying your messages to the operators on the ground?
Not in every case.
But in most cases?
In most
right?
cases.
And you don't even know if IURI was ever in Afghanistan, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know.
So fair to say that you had no direct knowledge of what the conditions on the ground in Afghanistan in the fall of 2021 actually were, correct?
It depends what you mean by direct.
I mean, you weren't there. Right?
I wasn't there, yep.
Everything you were getting was either second or even third hand, right?
That's right, correct.
And I think you said this, but you didn't even know the names of the people on the ground in Afghanistan, correct?
That's right, need to know.
Right. The only person, I think in your deposition you testified that you knew one name and you think it might have been Abbas, correct?
Yep, that's right. Well, that's the name that he used. Whether or not that was actually his name, I don't know.
And so, yeah, you said this need to know thing, and I was interested in that. You said you didn't need to know the names of the people on the ground because of this need to know concept, correct?
That's right.
And then you also said that after each of these evacuations that you sanitized your communications afterwards, correct?
Correct.
And that's a fancy word for deleting, right?
It's not fancy, it's just operationally sound.
It's a synonym, right?
Can you repeat the question?
I can move on.
Okay.
It's not really that
I'm
interesting.
getting confused.
I guess it's your testimony that you were deleting your communications on your phone. Would they be on your phone or on your computer?
Phone.
Okay. You were deleting your communications on your phone in Austria because you were concerned that someone would gain access to your phone in Austria such that it could imperil people in Afghanistan?
I wouldn't word it that way, no.
Okay. Let's be totally clear about this. You never were in Afghanistan, correct?
That's right.
And you never left Austria, correct?
That's right.
In this time period.
Yes.
So you were deleting things off of your phone out of the concern that someone could have gained access to it in Austria, correct?
No, that's not. It's a more complicated answer. I'm happy to explain.
It's okay, I think we got it.
Okay.
So you did, I think, I'll just ask this, you didn't find out the names of the people on the ground in Afghanistan because it was too risky for them?
No, that's not how I would word that.
How would you word it?
This is part of the need to know thing. So Yuri is taking a lot of trust and even involving me in contacting group chats with these operators. So if I went to Yuri saying, hey, I need to know the names of these guys, just from a business context, it looks like I'm trying to find a way to go around him, which would be totally unprofessional. But from an operational standpoint, these are people that are actually putting their lives in harm's way. So the more people that know their names, just in general, the more risky it is. So this is a concept. It's not just in the evacuations and the work I was doing with the U.S. government. The need to know always applies.
Yeah, we're not focused on the U.S. government. We're focused on Afghanistan because that's what you were talking about, right?
But the same principles still apply.
Okay, but I want to focus on Afghanistan.
Okay.
You said first, there's a lot in that answer, that you didn't want to get the names of the people on the ground because you thought that would cause Yuri to think that you would go around him?
from a business perspective, that's a realistic concern.
Right.
It erodes
So
trust.
this was your trusted compadre?
Yeah.
And you thought there was a fear that by you getting the names of the people, you thought that he might think you were working around him?
Right,
And that was
because-
one of the reasons you didn't get his names? the names.
Because there's no need for me to know the names.
Okay. And then the second part, I think you said, was it would be incredibly risky for the names of those people to get out, right?
It would create unnecessary risk, is a better way to put it.
Well, let's look. I might have gotten it wrong.
I might have explained it poorly before, but that's the way it
You
works.
said, I don't think you said incredibly risky. I got that wrong. You said from an operational standpoint, these are people that are actually putting their lives in harm's way. Why were they putting their lives in harm's way?
Because they were conducting these tremendously risky evacuations from a war zone. It's dangerous.
Why were they tremendously risky?
You want me to go through the conditions in Afghanistan again?
I mean, I'll try to summarize for you and tell me if I got it right.
Okay.
They were tremendously risky, right? Because the Taliban was hunting people, right?
That's right.
Right. And the Taliban wasn't letting people leave, right?
Some people, a lot of people, correct.
And so if you were one of these people on the ground who was covertly helping people get out of Afghanistan, it could be risky for you, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You needed to keep it secret, right? The secret is possible.
Yeah, you could use that word, keep it secret.
Right. Try to do things covertly, right?
Yep, we used the word clandestine, I think. before.
Not out in the open.
That's right.
Underground, right?
I
Honor,
didn't use that word.
objection. May we approach? Or I can just tell you, I'm worried about what we discussed yesterday. We're getting real close to it.
Well, talked about it yesterday.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
And then the third thing was, so I think what you're saying is that you're suggesting that it would have been potentially risky for these people in Afghanistan for you to know their names in Austria. Do I have that right?
It creates unnecessary risk for anybody who doesn't need to know who they are to know who they are. It's just unnecessary. It's not specific to me in Austria. It's just
Right. But what I think you're saying is that it would have been an additional unnecessary risk for you sitting in Austria to know these people's names.
it creates unnecessary risk for the operational integrity of what we're doing for the people on the ground, for my corporate clients who have.
Sir, I'm not asking about the
complicated
corporate.
answer.
I'm just asking you about the
Objection,
people.
Your Honor. He's in the middle of talking.
Let him answer the question.
Okay, I will. So I'm just
Go
asking.
back and rephrase it and start a question again.
Sure. I'm just asking, Mr. Young, you're talking about the risk to the people who are working on the ground in Afghanistan. And I'm asking you, would it have been an unnecessary risk for you sitting in Austria to have those people's names?
Correct, yes.
It would have been.
It would have been.
Because there was some possibility that someone would get your phone in Vienna, Austria, and find out who these people were in Afghanistan?
No, I wouldn't put it that way at all.
So what was the risk?
The risk, I'm trying to explain it. It's you're risking operational integrity when you have names of people that you don't need to know, or the details of the movement. The more widely disseminated that is, the more people that know about it. It risks the people, the passengers, the operators. It risks the model itself, because if somebody is monitoring those communications or gets into your phone remotely, I'm explaining. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody's monitoring that stuff, you're not going to know about it, but the next time you use it, you know, maybe you inadvertently reveal the identity of the operators on the ground. So they start to get monitored, they get to put under surveillance. It makes the whole thing way more risky from an operational standpoint.
So you were concerned that somebody could be monitoring your phone in Vienna, Austria?
That wasn't my specific concern, no.
Isn't it true